Hi guys, what's up? Thank you so much for watching Mostly Sane. I'm Prajakta. I am on a roll with these Real Talk Tuesday videos. One after another, it just keeps coming. But a very special one today again. I don't know how to introduce Alia, so I'm just going to say hi, Alia.
Yeah, please.
Right?
There's no need for an introduction.
Like what? Exactly. Like what do I say that'll suffice?
Otherwise, you and I will have to take turns of introducing each other one by one. So you introduce me, then I introduce you, and then it'll just be never ending. It'll go on and on. Yeah.
But hey, congratulations on Darlings.
Thank you so much.
It's very, very exciting. Right before we started...
Congratulations on Jug Jug.
Yeah. Right before we started rolling, we were talking about this. Ki Alia thinks ki sabse difficult part about making a film and selling a film is promotions. Why?
See, the thing is, promotions also comes at a time when the film is releasing. So uska nerves hota hai. Then there's like that added thing of like logo ko kya pasand aa raha hai, nahi pasand aa raha hai, all of that. And amidst this, you have to be yapping. Basically, we're yapping, and we're not yapping just like. It's not a casual convo that's only happening with one person one day per day. We're saying the same thing again and again and again. So when we're talking to lovely people like you, who are so engaging and asking intelligent questions, it's great.
I feel like the pressure is so high on an interview.
I'm just saying, see, intelligent and so graceful. I'm saying all these words.
I'm rethinking everything I've written. I'm like, should I start with this or not? But we're just happy.
We're happy.
We're happy to be here, and I'm glad. Okay, मैं पहले बता दूँ कि I'm going to ask a bunch of questions. Also, क्योंकि I've had the privilege to watch the film this morning.
Yes.
And I loved it.
Yes.
And I swear to God, I'm not saying it because you're here and I'm here and hi Netflix. लेकिन मैं honestly कह रही हूँ कि मैं बोल देती कि but no, it's a really, really fun film. Also because it has three of my favorite people. There's Alia, I love Vijay, I love Chef Ali. It's so nice to have all of them together. Also such a strange combination of people.
Yeah.
बहुत अलग है. We've not seen this before. अब आ गया है. पहले तो I'll ask you कि मैंने ट्रेलर नहीं देखा क्योंकि अभी तक ट्रेलर नहीं आया हुआ है. टीजर हमने देखा.
जी.
टीजर
जब हम शूट कर रहे थे तब तक ट्रेलर आया नहीं था बेसिकली.
हाँ, तब तक नहीं आया था ट्रेलर. हाँ. तो टीजर मैंने देखा. अब टीजर के बाद जब फिल्म देखो तो these are two very different things.
Yes.
Teaser mein, the minute I saw the teaser, I said, oh, it's going to be a comedy because there's a lot of humor.
Yeah.
But when I saw the film, I was like, I love that the comedy stays, but at the same time, there is a lot of sensitive issues that are handled through comedy.
Yeah.
Was that a conscious decision shuruaat se, or did that come up?
So I think we were calling this a dark comedy, right? We're going on saying कि ये comedy थोड़ी dark है, ये comedy थोड़ी dark है. So teaser actually is where we went for a dark tone. Actually, that is the dark tone. The trailer is a full comedy tone. So we're showing the full comedy side. The film, at the end of the day, starts off a certain way. Like you think it's going somewhere कि ऐसे शुरू हुआ है और ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है, ये हो रहा है ना. So we've not shown the bits that the film starts with to the audience because we want the audience to discover that. Because the minute I show you just that, then I'm actually selling you just the beginning of the film. I'm not telling you what the film and the crux is actually about. It's also a bit of a thriller, so we can't really give too much away. So it's actually left to for people to discover. But in my opinion, when you make somebody laugh, you can also make them cry.
Yeah.
I love that combination of that sort of the seriousness, but then also the same characters are making you laugh. You fall in love with them even more.
Also, comedy to मुझे लगता है always is a great vehicle to get a message through.
Absolutely.
है ना? Easily you can swallow that pill a little easier.
No, और strangely जब मैं और Jasmeet पहली बार मिले थे and when we spoke about the film, she started off her narration with that कि मुझे ये एक सब्जेक्ट मैटर पे डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस पे मुझे एक पिक्चर बनानी है बट लोग ये कभी सब्जेक्ट देखेंगे ही नहीं if you don't entertain them. So how do you give them a good message whilst entertaining them? Now, like you said, it's very difficult, very tricky to entertain whilst walking a very thin line of darkness and humor.
Also, you could go on to insensitivity very quickly.
Absolutely.
बहुत जल्दी वो ऐसा हो सकता है कि मजाक समझ के रखा है तुम लोगों ने. This happens to people, but
obviously intention बिल्कुल
नहीं. But कई बार when you're interpreting art वो हो जाता है. But having watched it, I'll tell you that I think it's handled beautifully.
But that's all credit to Jasmeet, And in fact, one of my friends who I had given the script to read, who's also a director, he was like, oh my God, like it's such a difficult job for the director. So the fact that she's chosen this as her first movie, like it's really, really brave. So I was like, okay. So, we're like through the making also, you're walking a really, really tight rope. But yeah, if you're feeling that way and you're the audience, and so far whoever has watched the film also feels that it's handled really well, I think that's good.
लेकिन वो thought आया था जब script पहुंची, were you like कि
No, because the payoff was, in my opinion, so strong. Yeah. It's a risk to take, but you're constantly aware of it, right? So while we were working on the film, working on the script, shooting the film, I was always aware of it. You're always aware कि ये कभी उस zone में ना चले जाए.
Yeah.
जो कभी गया नहीं, luckily, even while we were shooting it. Yeah. But you're aware. So as long as you're aware of it, it's fine. If you're not just being unaware and doing your own thing, then anything can happen.
Let's say, I'll not give away too much, लेकिन one of my favorite scenes is with you and Shefali.
Yeah.
जब आप टेबल पे बैठे हुए हो, I have laughed so much when she says कि हम इसको एक सूटकेस में डालेंगे, नीचे लेके जाएंगे और कोई बोलेगा कि इतनी बड़ी सूटकेस क्यों है, तो हम बोल देंगे कि अंधे बच्चों के लिए कपड़े लेके जा रहे हैं, और फिर लोग बोलेंगे कि रात को क्यों लेके जा रहे हैं, तो हम बोलेंगे अरे अंधों के लिए क्या दिन क्या रात.
I can't believe you have memorized this.
I have watched that scene like that chunk like 4 times. I was like, this is hilarious.
You know her Shefali's lines better than her, I think. If she would have been sitting here, she would have been like, you knew my lines better than me.
I think that is where the dark humor just sits so beautifully, because वो दोनों एक दूसरे से जोक नहीं मार रहे हैं.
नहीं.
वो बहुत सीरियसली बोल रहे हैं. Also जितनी बार विजय वर्मा ने डंडे खाए, बेलन से सर पे, I have laughed and laughed and laughed, and still कहीं पे भी मुझे ऐसे नहीं लगा कि मजाक उड़ रहा है या कुछ हो रहा है. So I think kudos to the writer, kudos to the director.
There's comedy and tragedy and tragedy and comedy, right? So it's like kind of works both ways, and I always find it like so beautiful when you kind of see both sides to it. In retrospective, we are laughing at it, but they are not laughing at it in the moment when he's coming to hit her from behind, and she's like, at the right moment, the mother comes and does that. You don't know that that's going to happen, but it happens, and it's funny, but it's also relieving, and it's also what's interesting is it's an amalgamation of emotions. So when people are watching the film, I'm hoping that they feel everything at once. So then by the end of it, you feel quite like, oh wow.
I'll tell you why. Also क्योंकि ना यहाँ पे humor situationally ऐसी जगह पे आता है जहाँ पे बिल्कुल expected नहीं है. Speaking of you, this character looks a little bit like Safina, but is very different.
Yeah.
At the same time, उल्टा थोड़ा सा लगा मुझे कि Safina starts on the front foot and then kind of mellows down a little bit.
Totally back.
यहाँ पे उल्टा है कि she's so much on the back foot.
Yeah.
And then एक दिन सटकी तो
correct
खत्म. Now, when you're doing characters that are so similar looking, the performance comes in much later. Is there anything that goes specially in mind? I'll tell you where this is coming from. वो वाला जो सीन है ना कि आप रोज सुबह उठ के ऑमलेट बनाते हो, तो उस टाइम पे I was noticing how you were doing everything, where you kept doing this between everything. The pav was with your hands like that. Everything that every time you serve him the raita, it all looked like, oh, maybe ये रोज करती होंगी घर पे ऐसे. I want to ask you, कि it's very very minute details that kind of build a character like Badru.
Yeah.
So what went into it?
Yeah. So I mean, just of the what you just said, I don't know how to make an omelette or seko a pav or do anything of that sort. But I had to do it for the part, and yeah, you're right. Their look is very similar only because of the fact that she maybe constantly covers her head, and so did Safina. But beyond that, their attitude is different, their life story is different, and strangely, in fact, there's violence in both, but their response is totally
very different,
very different to it. In that sense, itself, I'm not worried about it. In fact, if you're too worried about it, it kind of starts showing and you start kind of becoming a bit labored. But yeah, all these little things, actually, when I'm in the shot, especially the way Jasmeet shot it, she's holding the shot for a very long time. So जो भी activity कर रही हूँ, मैं actually कर रही हूँ, मैं fake नहीं कर रही हूँ उसको. तो उसके वजह से it's seeming like, you know, I'm responding to the moment. मेरे हाथ में तेल लग गया तो मैं इसको कर रही थी, salt गिर गया तो मैं उसको, क्योंकि मैं superstitious हूँ, I'm doing this, you know, the character or whatever. So it's all happening in real time. So it's actually very fun as an actor to do it, because you're actually responding in real time. You're like, the moment is being lived. It's not being created.
Yeah. But I'll tell you where this is coming from. जैसे I had a chat with Ranbir right before Shamshera came out. और तब उसके बारे में हम बात कर रहे थे कि इतने सारे अलग-अलग characters assess कैसे करते हो? How much of it is given, how much of the traits of that character comes from the direction, how much of it is yours, how much comes from the writing. तो वो बता रहे थे कि every different character, he has a different perfume that he uses. Then when you reach a set, your costume gives you different motivation to kind of do that. Your set gives you different motivation. The reason I asked this question is because they were both so similarly set, and you still played them so far apart. I want to know how that happened.
I don't have all this, like, I mean, costume for me adds a lot. For me, it's more like the motivations of the character that set the characters apart from each other. You know what I mean? Like, their story is only different.
Yeah.
It's in Darlings, Badru's dream is to fix her husband.
Yeah.
That is her dream.
Yeah.
In Gully Boy, her dream was to marry Murad and like do her own thing. It was totally different. The way you approach your life is only different.
Yeah.
So I don't need to do too many technical things to support that. It just all happens here. You know, to be very honest, I don't have like interesting answers to give for this whenever people ask me this question and like, do you do anything different? I actually don't. I actually do maybe the same thing, but it's just approached in a different way from here.
Yeah. The motivation is
The motivation is different, and I actually just find something new to enjoy in the character. So in Badru's character, what I enjoyed was how naive she was.
Yeah.
You know, so I was operating from that place. So I become like that also. Then even when I was playing a character like Safina, I was enjoying how sassy she was. She was like, whatever it is, like, you know, you come in my way and like you're honestly ruined.
getting beaten
So,
up.
yeah.
This is your first time working with Jasmeet?
Yes.
This is also Jasmeet's first film.
Yes.
Okay. She's worked before in assisting,
Assisting, writing,
lots of
advertisements.
that.
Yeah, a lot of that.
कई बारी जब आप कोई and this is something that I'm just trying to learn for myself because I find it like that's a little bit of a conflict that goes into my mind कि कई बारी ऐसे होता है कि आप किसी कैरेक्टर को पढ़ते हो and then you imagine, इसीलिए कई बार फर्क पड़ जाता है ना कि जब आप खुद पूरी स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ते हो या फिर जब नरेशन होती है
जी
and कई बारी वो conflict आ जाता है कि oh this is not how I'd imagined the line to be delivered when I read it myself. तो जब ये होता है and if you ever reach on set and there's a little bit of a conflict between the way you have seen the character to perform or react in a certain situation,
Correct.
but how the writer or the director has seen, how do you deal with that conflict?
Oh, interesting. Well, in my opinion, it's always director first. What director wants, actor does. But it's also democracy, right? Like you also are, especially after living a character for some time. So, you know, there's that scene where Vijay is under the tap and, you know, his hair is chapta and Chef Ali is kind of fixing his hair. Earlier, the scene was written a different way that we were messing around with him. It was like, like we were like trying to torture him or something like that. It was written like that. But in that moment after shooting, I felt like, listen, stakes are too high right now. They have to be a little bit more worried.
Serious.
That was my instinct. So I said, you know, मेरे को थोड़ा सा लग रहा है कि ये अभी इस time पे खेल नहीं सकते. She's stressed out on how to handle the situation. The mother can be a little bit less stressed out because the mother's just way more, you know, boisterous and she has way more guts. But Badru's not. She's stressed.
Also, I feel like Badru is a little more careful and has a little foresight than the mother.
Correct. Totally opposite in terms of dynamic. So this is something that came up on the set. So Jasmeet gave into that instinct of mine. She said, okay, no, you're right. Let's approach it this way. But very often my instinct may be totally off and she may be like, no, I want it like this. So it's up to the director to be like, okay, when the actor's instinct is actually right
and when
it's not. So I will always give my point across, but at the end of the day, if the director doesn't agree, it's not my I can't be like, no, shoot one version for me. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be like, okay, fine. I'll try my best to convince, and if you don't believe it, fine. I will eventually follow your vision. But like say in that moment, she understood where I was coming from. So we did kind of alter it a bit because it's just sometimes after living scenes and after performing them, something just changes. You can't really put your finger on it.
Does it stay back after pack up or after wrap?
No.
Little bit.
I take a flight half an hour before wrap. I've reached home.
No, but I'm saying, you know, I've always found this very strange. It's such a strange job, right? कि आप चाहे जिस भी mood में उठो सुबह, you have to go. And maybe the first scene that you're shooting that day is a very violent one. कि आप सीढ़ियों से नीचे गिर रहे हो या आप hospital में उठ के रो रहे हो. It could be one of those. And then cut to, because linear तो कुछ shoot होता है नहीं. Cut to, you have to go and you have to act like, oh, let's go watch a film or let me knit a sweater for my child.
Correct.
So it is such a strange thing that as actors, everyone goes through in a day. तो जब आप किसी कैरेक्टर को इतने दिनों तक, you know, every day you get up and you dress like her, you speak like her, you think like her. That's where the instinct, I'm guessing, came from. तो जब ये होता है and when it's over, it's a sudden stop कि चलो okay, it's a wrap for Alia, congratulations, now we'll see when the film releases. Does a little bit of that stay back?
So I think for me, while making the film, a lot of it hangover happens. Like I go back home and speak like the character and I sit like the character, which very unknowingly in my own life only. Like, you know, Ranbir used to make fun of me or sitting like Gangubai or behaving like Gangubai. So even with Darlings has to go home and speak in this like, हाँ करती मैं हाँ जाते हम and like that. Like a lot of that small hangover used to happen. But I'm a very switch on, switch off actor. I switch, like I said, I pack up mentally in my brain before I actually pack up.
Okay.
Because I think it's just some characters you can't help, they get very connected with you and another, but it's better to switch off because at the end of the day, it's a part of your life. It's not really
and it's
who
going to
you
keep
are.
happening for a very, very long time.
Yeah, and you know, then also sometimes you may just get confused on what your instincts are. Like a lot of the times it used to happen to me. I'm like, listen, am I even like, what am I? Like, who am I? A lot of that used to happen because you were shooting so many characters at one time. So, yeah, switch on, switch off is, I think, for me, very important. Some actors choose not to do it. Some actors choose to stay in character, which is like, I find extremely commendable. Because it's very, very difficult to do. I mean, Ranveer has told me so many stories of how he would like get really deep into the character and this and that. I'm like, it's really, really scary. Like, I would find that extremely hard and challenging to do. But yeah, that's, you know, that hard stop that you're talking about.
Very important.
I find, in fact, it harder in scenes. Like when I'm doing an emotional scene,
and then achanak se cut.
Then
again,
I find
reset.
I find that very hard. Like that emotional, like a breakdown or something. It's a deep breakdown, and I'm like, of course, I've taken some preparation to get to the breakdown, and then I'm breaking down, and then it's cut.
Yeah.
So then I find it very awkward, and I just kind of go back in, like whatever. So that is hard, but like that's the nature of the business.
Yeah. Like मेरे साथ ये बहुत बार होता था शुरुआत में, अभी भी होता है कि मेरे सारे असली वाले आंसू रिहर्सल्स में निकल जाते हैं.
मैं तो रिहर्सल करती नहीं हूँ.
मेरे I was like आकर शूट से और राज शूट से और मेरे निकल जाते थे उसमें सारे खत्म. And then the next one आकर like अभी नहीं आए, मैं कहा अभी नहीं आएंगे, अभी no, I can't do it again.
You can't do it again and again, unfortunately. Yeah, that's when glycerin zindabad.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think for me also, like, it's more like switching off in between also. Like totally, suddenly I'll be getting onto a call about something else and then doing something else and then suddenly you're tuning back in. So it doesn't always, like you're not really always connected to that moment. Otherwise it can get a bit drawn.
Yeah. Also it'll get draggy for the character also, na boring ho jayega.
Also you're taking yourself too seriously, honestly. Like, I mean, like, listen, like, just be normal.
Yeah.
You know, so,
I agree. Okay, you just got back from shooting your first Hollywood film.
Yes.
How different is it from here?
It's the same. See, mota, it's the same. Like, you need to get onto set, you get into hair makeup, you get into your wardrobe, you go onto the set, you do a blocking, you start, like, that's it. But I think there are, like, it was interesting for me because it was totally new team.
Yeah.
Totally new atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have my usual hair makeup team, your usual people that you see around you. For an actor who's worked in the same industry with the same people for 10 years.
Also, there's this comfort zone that you have.
Yeah, so you are really stepping out, like, outside the box, which is actually why I kind of wanted to also take on this experience. So it was very different from that aspect. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. I mean, I think there are certain things maybe that I've picked up in terms of, like, a certain timing and I'm a very professional actor, but just a little bit more of, like, a skilled, on-time, professional attitude that I can maybe bring into my work. So those things that you learn, but other than that, it's the same. But yeah, but it was fun? Because it was my first full action.
And there was a lot of action, yeah.
Again, so well handled, so well, curated and put together, and so particular about safety, which was great. I think because for me also, because it was the first time doing something like this, and I'm also pregnant, so I'm also have to, there's so many things to think about, but they made it so easy for me, and they made it so, like, comfortable for me. So kind of wrote about that also in my post, being like, they really took a lot of care of me, because genuinely I was kind of homesick, like, for the first 2 weeks. I'm like, I really want to go back home and all that. Like, it's a big experience, but you feel homesick. You can't help it. You're not getting your regular dal chawal and all of that. But they organized all of that also for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
they
good.
made it really comfortable. So I was very well taken care of. So I feel very grateful.
Ooh, when does Darlings come out?
Darlings is out on the 5th of August.
5th of August on Netflix.
On Netflix.
Please don't miss it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It is everything that you're not expecting and more.
Yeah. That's good. That's a good way to describe it.
Congratulations, Alia. We're
Thank you.
so happy that you're on Netflix and we get to watch you not once but like 100 times because it's a great film. Please watch it. And thank you so much for doing this.
Not at all. Thank you so much for doing this.
All right, so that was this week's Real Talk Tuesday video. If you like it, make sure you give it a big fat thumbs up. Watch Darlings on Netflix on the 5th.
5th of August.
Watch Darlings on Netflix on the 5th of August and I'll see you again next week. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should do that. It's free until we meet. Love, love.